Blog Talk Radio.
Chapter 5, starting at the first verse. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? It shall be given thee to half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, If it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther has said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then answered Esther and said, My petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do so tomorrow, as the king hath said. Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and the servants of the king. And Haman moreover said, Yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she prepared, but myself. And tomorrow I am invited I am invited unto her also with the king. Yet all of this availeth nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Hebrew sitting at the king's gate. Let me read that again. Yet all of this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Hebrew sitting in the king's gate. Then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him, Let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king, that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. Peace be unto you, brothers and sisters. Peace be unto you. This is your brother DL, Elder Youngman, for those that follow online. And the name of tonight's message is Beware the Creepy Cracker Spirit, Part 2, Haman's Hate. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Again, it's your brother DL. And this message, the second part of Creepy-Crackerism, I wanted to speak on this immediately after the first message. But the Father asked me to wait and to hold. And what you brothers have seen in the 2 weeks between the two messages is that this habit, I'll call it a habit, of lynching so-called dark people here in this country, here in Mystery Babylon, has resurfaced. There has been at least 3 documented lynchings that have occurred, and now we have these Gentiles that are abducting these Hebrew Israelite men and women and hanging them from trees. Now, one of the things that we pointed out is where we are. We're here in Mystery Babylon, which is the greatest of the cities or the kingdoms that has subscribed to Nimrod's philosophy. We know because of our history that this place has derived power from the blood of Hebrew Israelite slaves. It's no different than what Babylon did. It's no different than what Egypt did. And what we're beginning to see, as pointed out in the first part of this message, is a form of hatred that it is a hateful, bloodthirsty sort of hatred amongst the people, and it's derived from the blood of the fallen angels. It's derived from Iblis or Satan at the beginning of time, refusing to prostrate himself before the man that was created by the Most High, where his breath was placed. It wasn't so much that Satan was being told to prostrate himself before the man, but to prostrate himself before the breath of the Most High that was placed in the man. And his jealousy, his hatred, drove him to rebel against, what he knows full well is the creator of all things, is an all-powerful, omnipotent creator and father that he still loves. This is not, his fall and this war that's taking place between he and mankind is not something that's just rationally laid out there. This is a jealousy. This is a fit of jealousy with our Father placing before him, the anointed cherub, this man, this pile of smelly, miry clay. So it felt, pressing upon me to speak on how this fit of rage manifests itself today. And, as I pointed out before, there were many examples, but Haman, this hatred that Haman had it sticks itself out as one of the most overt, one of the most clearly laid out examples of how deep this hatred ran. So what I'd like to do is just touch on what we looked at in the last reading, in the last message. If we go back to chapter 3 in the book of Esther, if you look at the first verse, after these things did King Azarias promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above the princes that were with him. So this lineage, an Agagite, that name should sound familiar because it was King Agag that really was the reason that Saul was taken out of power. Agag was an Amalekite. So being that Hammedatha, Haman's father, is identified as an Agagite, what it's saying is that his bloodline was a royal Amalekite bloodline. Okay, so he would have known very well what happened in this hatred. The basis of this hatred was an ancient hatred. It went all the way back to the Exodus, in that when Joshua and Moses led the children of Israel out, the first people to attack them were the Amalekites. If you look at the bloodline of the Amalekites, they have lineage that traces back to Esau. They're also reputed to be giants, which means that they mingled their blood with the fallen angels and the Titans. So it's really double jeopardy with that particular group of people. So the hatred that you see here is an ancient hatred. It's very similar to this hatred that is in these white folks today. This hatred goes all the way back, again, to the same origins where the blood that's in these Gentiles is from the fallen angels. So the hatred that we see, is not anything that really most of them understand. They just hate, and they don't know why, but they do. So that's the first thing to know about this hatred that's in Haman. If you go to the 4th verse, now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, he hearkened not unto them. Now this is Mordecai. This is after Haman has taken notice of Mordecai, and Mordecai is not prostrating himself. He's not paying him the honor that he feels that he's deserved by moving up into the king's good graces. So this is what they told Haman to see, whether Mordecai's matter would stand, for he had told them that he was a Hebrew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. So basically, the similarity here is, how dare that nigga, with these people that are picking up the phones and calling the police on people. How dare that nigga not do what I want them to do? How dare them niggas be out there in the park barbecuing? And it's a public park. The dude was paying his rent. He got every right to be in that apartment building, but how dare he? So this is the spirit that is inside of what we've called this creepy cracker. So I'll read it again. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. Okay? And if we move on to verse, 7. In the first month, that is the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Azarias, they cast pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day and from month to month to the 12th month, that is the month of Adar. So basically, when you look at casting pur or casting lot, this was how policy was created, and it was done in a random sort of a way of the casting of lots. Is a form of governance, essentially. So Haman was going about his duties, and the people that the lots fell on were the people that received the favor of the king or whatever was on the table. So this was put in here so that you know that Haman didn't have any ability to just choose. He didn't have any authority just to say, okay, these people are blessed, these people are cursed. It was done by the casting of lots. That is the Medo-Persian way of governing, and that was his job under King Azariah. So the next verse, and Haman said unto the king, there is a certain people, okay, a certain people. Now, this certain people was not determined by lot. This certain people was determined by him, right? So when Haman said unto King Azariah, there's a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all the people, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. So brothers and sisters, what are we looking at here? We're looking at a man that's been advanced. Okay, he now has an audience with the rulers of the world, and his job is to evaluate the lots that are cast before him, and to report to the king the results of these lots. So what he's done is, because a member of a race that has an ancient hatred with him didn't give him reverence, didn't bow his knee, didn't make over everything that he's done, he becomes upset, and then he goes before the king, and he points this race of people out, and he tells the king that it's not for his profit that he suffer them. So if we continue on reading, we see that in verse 10, and the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the Hebrews' enemy. What's happened here is that he's asked that those people be destroyed. Okay, again, this is a man that's abusing his office for the reason of his hatred that he has for these people, which just happen to be the chosen of the Most High. So in verse 12, then the king's scribe called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of the king Azarias was it written and sealed with the king's ring. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces, to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all the Hebrews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to take the spoil of them for prey. So brothers and sisters, this has been our lot. We've gone into these kingdoms, and people have hated us for no reason that they really understand. It's just that they're different somehow. So even in our fallen state, there's still a light that's on us. There's still a light that vexes the darkness that are in people. And that's what you saw. That's what you saw in Haman. That's what you saw in George Zimmerman. That's what you see all around you right now. So this hatred is an ancient hatred, okay? So if we advance into today's reading, what we see exhibited here, first of all, is our Father's provision. what Haman hasn't even considered. And it's the same with these white folks today. It's the same with Trump. It's the same with those that support Trump. It's the same with the folks on the left that would hate us because we uphold this book. They have no idea that our Father's provision is made and that they are a part of His plan. Okay? So we saw that Queen Esther, who I guess it just blew right by Haman. He never really assumed or thought that she was in a position to thwart his plans. So Haman, in his hatred, and this goes back to, look, this is deep. This is deep. Haman, in his hatred, had a gallows built on his front yard. So that means, you rolling through your neighborhood and you just happen, and it's not Halloween, because, they making an excuse when they hang effigies of niggas off trees that, it's just because of Halloween. So you rolling down the street and you just happen to notice that somebody is intently building a big wooden hangman's noose, just like what you saw in the Old West. The big raised platform, the big noose hanging off of the wooden arm, all of that, and you just notice it, on this dude's front lawn, and he's building on it every day. And then you have you realize that this is the mayor of your city building a hangman's noose out on his front yard, and he did that because what Mordecai represented to him was everything that he hated. So, brothers and sisters, this spirit of creepy-crackerism, with what you see and what you're going to continue to see, I know it's repetitive. But this is why the Father sent the word through our brothers to come out. Because it's going to get ugly, brothers and sisters. It's going to get uglier than anything that we've ever seen, because of this spirit of hatred that sits on these people. And you have to understand that it's a part of the Father's plan, that the Gentiles, they're going to be used basically to punish and to purge those that would not do the Father's will. They have a place in this. The hatred that's been placed inside of them, just like Satan, when he fell, he would have been destroyed if the Father didn't have a purpose for him. And his purpose was to come down here and to test the souls of the faithful. So it's going to be the same with his children. These folks that have this ingrained hatred and are doing, they're back to the point of hanging people off of trees. People thought that was an example when, we put out the Romans 1:28 check-in. It wasn't an example, folks. It's gone back as far as Esther. We know that our Messiah was hung from a tree. We know that these people, these pagans, worship trees, and that's a form of worship to the fallen angels, is to take one of the faithful, one of those that the Most High cherishes, and hang them on a tree, put them on a tree as a sacrifice to their gods. So, brothers and sisters, along with this creepy-crackerism, this spirit that has taken over these people, this idea that, building a gallows out in your front yard is cool. What we have to really watch is the declaration that has come out from the halls of power, just like in Esther. Here, let me see, 3:13, one day, even on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar. Okay? I had a friend of mine, a brother of ours, go in and take a look at what that date resolves back to. And the date it resolves back to is February the 19th in the 400th year. Brothers and sisters, it is not any sort of coincidence that this country, this great beast, is in the process of putting together a commemoration of the 400 years that we've been here. HR 1242. You should look that up.
There are 3 summaries for HR 1242. Bill summaries are authored by CRS. Shown here, passed Senate without amendment, December 21, 2017. This measure has not been amended since it was passed by the House on May 1, 2017. The summary of that version is repeated here. 400 Years of African American History Commission Act. Section 3. This bill establishes the 400 Years of African American History Commission to develop and carry out activities throughout the United States to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the arrival of Africans in the English colonies at Point Comfort, Virginia, in 1619. The Commission must plan programs to acknowledge the impact that slavery and laws that enforced racial discrimination had on the United States. Encourage civic, patriotic, historical, educational, artistic, religious, and economic organizations to organize and participate in anniversary activities. Assist states, localities, and non-profit organizations to further the commemoration. And coordinate for the public scholarly research on the arrival of Africans in the United States and their contributions to this country. Section 5. The Commission may provide 1. Grants to communities and non-profit organizations for the development of programs. 2. Grants to research and scholarly organizations to research, publish, or distribute information relating to the arrival of Africans in the United States. And 3. Technical assistance to states, localities, and non-profit organizations to further the commemoration. Section 7. The Commission must prepare a strategic plan and submit a final report to Congress that contains a summary of its activities, an accounting of its received and expended funds, and its recommendations. Section 8. The Commission shall terminate on July 1, 2020. Section 9. All expenditures of the Commission shall be made solely from donated funds.
And in addition to that, you may just think that it's, just a random sort of observance. But brothers and sisters, there's no way that our Father told to Abraham that that his seed would be in bondage for 400 years, and then this government through the Congress, through a shared act between the Republicans and the Democrats, it met none of the gridlock that bills meet when they go through the Congress here. It was passed by the Senate and the House, no amendments. And that is the fact that they are going to commemorate, I'm putting my fingers up, commemorate our 400th year here. So brothers and sisters, there's a lot going on in this scripture. I hope that, after the first message, you went back and read the book of Esther. I can't say that I'm done with this, brothers and sisters, because there's something else that goes along with the 400-year marker from the side of the United States. And again, this is 30 minutes, so I'm going to have to do it on another message, and we're going to have to talk about that. So brothers and sisters, my hope is that the Father is keeping your mind. My hope is that your prayer is that the Father keep your mind and keep you in His Shalom. Because brothers and sisters, we're about to see some stuff. We're about to see some unprecedented things. And all that I can say as far as my preparation for that is that I'm prepared to fall into the hands of my Father and nothing else. And nothing else. So brothers and sisters, your brother DL is out. I love you all. Shalom.